Episode number 25. Welcome back. This is the Expected Returns Podcast. My name is Luttman. I'm a real estate investor and agent in the capital region of New York State. This is very much a real estate focused conversation. However, we do also touch on financial markets, economic data, really anything that's going to impact the world of housing. Real quick intro this week. The latest edition of the newsletter did go out within the past few days, touching on government intervention within foreclosures. If you are a reader, if you enjoy consuming content, head on over to sjlincoln.com/join. That way you can sign up to be a subscriber to the newsletter for no cost. It is 100% free. Again, that website, sjlincoln.com/join. That's it for the intro. Let's get into the episode. Where I want to start today is with a conversation about unintended consequences. Now, the country of Sweden has been battling double-digit inflation for the past year. Higher prices are not a uniquely American problem. We do see this across the world. However, they had seen significant progress during the first quarter of 2023. Prices were retreating to more normalized levels. From all appearances, the Nordic country had successfully tackled inflation up until the month of May. And for whatever reason, in the month of May, all of the progress they had made abruptly stopped. Didn't make any sense. There were no sudden changes to economic conditions. Fiscal policy wasn't now more loose than it had been before. Turns out it's not what had changed, but who. And the who in this equation is Beyonce. Beyonce had kicked off her world tour in Stockholm. Fans of hers flew in from across the world to see the show, driving up prices on things like transportation, hotels, restaurants, to such a degree that it impacted consumer prices for the entire country. Now, this wasn't some diabolical scheme by Beyonce and her fans to make life more expensive for the people of Sweden, right? But events and actions do have consequences. And that brings me to the Supreme Court's ruling this past week on President Biden's student loan debt forgiveness plan. The plan that was put forward by the White House called for upwards of $20,000 of student debt relief. And the Supreme Court stepped in and said, this is an overreach by the executive branch. For something like this to go through, it would require congressional approval as well. What this decision didn't take into account, however, is the negative impact it would have on the U.S. housing market. We'll put some numbers behind the conversation. Roughly 43 million Americans carry federal student loan debt today. Forbes says that the median balance carried is roughly $19,000, and the monthly payment for borrowers is roughly $400. So if the plan were to go through, and we know the threshold caps out at $20,000, hypothetically, half of the 43 million Americans would have their balances completely waived if the plan were to go through. What does an additional $400 a month look like to you? Well, from a mortgage perspective, it's an additional $60,000 worth of purchasing power. How real is this? CNBC had released a poll that found 1/3 of respondents said student loan debt was delaying the purchase of a house. Now, if student loan debt were magically waived, would all 43 million Americans go out and buy a house tomorrow? Of course not. It's probably not 30 million. It's probably not 20 million, but it's some number. And that's going to be a fairly meaningful number. What do we know if we paid attention during Economics 101? When you introduce new buyers into a marketplace, what happens to prices? They go up. So one thing we know is that student loan debt forgiveness was a major campaign promise by President Biden. So yes, this particular plan was shot down, but it's unlikely he's going to give up here. Most likely the next step is to explore backdoor options. If he can make it happen, home prices and possibly Beyonce tickets are both going to become more expensive. Being that we're officially halfway through 2023, I thought today would be a great day to take a quick step back and review what does the current state of the U.S. housing market look like. And we're going to be attacking this from a national perspective. We're also going to look locally as well. The median sales price for the month of May was $396,000 in the United States. And we're going to be quoting here from the National Association of Realtors and also from the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. This is a 1.2% improvement versus the month previous. however, is less than what it was May 2022. For the first time in a decade, we're seeing year over year price declines. Keep in mind, when we say declines, we're talking fractions of a percent. So if you think back to some of the headlines we were seeing fourth quarter 2022, January of this year, rapid run up in interest rates is going to crater the U.S. housing market, just isn't true. That's not how it's playing out. Housing has held up very well. What's not looking so great is inventory. So 6 months of available inventory is generally considered a healthy housing market. And when we say inventory, what we're saying is if no additional houses were placed on the market, how long would it take for the current buyer pool to absorb all the existing houses? 6 months is what is considered healthy. Today we're at 3 months. So we are a country that does not have enough housing. Now locally, things do look a little bit better from a pricing perspective. The median sales price of $287,000 is a 3% improvement versus what it was last year. So nationally, small step back. Locally here in the capital region, big step forward. So things are looking pretty strong. What does not look good, again, we talked about 6 months is healthy, 3 months nationally of inventory, locally 1.6. We do not have nearly enough housing here in the capital region. Who benefits from this? New construction. So new construction represents the largest percentage of sales in over 2 decades. Why is this happening? What's playing out? Well, a couple of reasons that go into it. First is going to be nobody wants to sell their house because that would require trading in a rate that they got probably in the 3s, and they have to go out and buy something that's in the 7s, right? So that's very unattractive. However, when you buy new construction, one of the benefits is the builder can often offer to buy down your interest rate. So they might give your lender, a couple $1,000s, whatever it might be, and for the first year, 2 years, they're going to be buying down your interest rate. So when we talk about housing affordability, especially student loans now have to start being repaid again. Budgets are going to be tighter. Price matters. New construction is always going to be more expensive than existing. However, it's not just price that goes into affordability. It's also your borrowing costs. So if they can offer to buy down your rate, suddenly that's a very attractive option for folks. So look for new construction to continue to be strong. Toll Brothers, D.R. Horton are some of the largest new construction builders in the country. Guess what? Their stocks are at all-time highs. So while agents like myself, lenders, appraisers, we're seeing our demand for our services go down, full steam ahead for new construction. It's never been a better time to be a builder. And finally, we'll wrap up today with a question I received from a friend of mine who's buying a property in a different part of the country. His agent is recommending to him that he waive his inspection period. It's a very competitive market where he's looking to purchase. He's consistently getting beat out on his offers. He wanted to know, is this something I would recommend doing? I would never tell you, and when I say you, this is true for listeners of the program, friends and family, clients of the office. I would never tell you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. I would never submit an offer on a property without having a trained professional take a look at it first. Now notice this doesn't say I need to have an inspection period. So how do we get a solution to this problem here? What I want you to do is I want you to get on the phone with, call it 4 to 5 inspectors in your area, find out who's good, get recommendations, and have them ready to go. What you're going to do is on the next house you go look at, you're going to submit an offer. It's going to have an inspection contingency. Typically, 2 things are going to happen next. You're either A, going to get notified of the standard multiple offers received, get us your best and final by 6 o'clock on Tuesday, or B, they're just going to flat out counteroffer what you had submitted. And we'll tackle it from the first perspective first. So multiple offers received to get us your best and final. This is when you start dialing up all of those inspectors you lined up. Who can take a last minute appointment? Maybe it's an odd hours. Maybe it's last minute cancellation. Maybe you offer to pay them a little bit more. Who can take a last minute appointment? You get that figured out. Here's the exact language I want you to use. Your agent is going to reach out to the other agent and say, and this is the important part, we are looking to improve our offer. He just wants to take another quick look today or tomorrow morning, whatever before the cutoff is. We are looking to improve our offer. We are going to improve our offer. If I'm on the other end of that phone conversation, if I'm representing the seller and I hear someone say, we are going to improve our offer, you better believe I'm going to do whatever I can to get you back into that property. So whether there are tenants involved, whether you're buying just a single family house, it doesn't matter. I'm getting you back into the house. When you get the okay, you are bringing the inspector with you, okay? They're going to be walking the property with you. It typically takes a day or two for you to get that big, thick report, of all the pictures and everything. We don't care about that. We're walking the property. We're verbally bouncing questions off of him. What do you think of that crack over there? What is that staining up on the ceiling? Does that look significant to you? And at the end of the walkthrough, you're going to ask him, do you see any red flags here? I don't care about the report. You get that to me whenever. Is there anything here that you would view as a substantial defect to the property? And if he says no, that's great, because now you're going to resubmit your offer, except with no contingency. So you're going to be waiving your inspection contingency. Why? Because you already had an inspector tour the property with you, so you're comfortable. Let's tackle it now from you get counteroffered, okay? So let's say you had offered $300,000, they want $315,000. Same conversation. We're looking to improve our offer. We want to get back in today. Okay. You're going back in with your inspector, same conversations. You come back out. You can now give them a gift that isn't going to cost you anything. And that's the best type of gift. So you can then go back to them and say, hey, you know what? 300 works for us, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to waive our inspections. So we're comfortable. We can get this done even faster now. So instead of 60 days, we can get it done in 40, whatever it's going to be. We don't need an inspection period. We're good. Let's get it done. That's great. That's news to the buyer's ears, right? Or to the seller's ears. So being proactive, I guess, is the big takeaway here. Are there negatives to this approach? Of course there are. You may find yourself in a situation where even by waiving your inspection contingency, you still might lose, right? Because there's going to be some crazy person out there that not only is they're waiving inspections, but they're offering, bananas dollars, and they're paying all cash, right? It's just insanity. Depending on where you live and where you're looking, that might be the case. Not necessarily, but it could be. You might lose. So what that means is you end up paying for inspections that you don't end up buying the house. That's kind of a bummer, right? But we're not looking for a perfect solution. This isn't designed to be perfect. It's designed to be better. And instead of continually having your offers defeated, or by buying houses essentially sight unseen, this is better than that, and that's what we're aiming to do. That's going to be it for today's show. Thanks for hanging with me. I hope you got something out of it. If you want to connect, if you have a real estate related need in the capital region, give me a shout. I'd love to hear from you. It's going to be steven@sjlincoln.com. That is my email address. There are no middlemen, no new agents learning on the job, no people at the front desk between you and me. Again, that's steven@sjlincoln.com. Or you can visit sjlincoln.com/book a call. And you're going to be scheduling a phone or a Zoom conversation with me. Again, that's going to be steven@sjlincoln.com, sjlincoln.com/book a call. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk again soon.